Hello, everyone. For our show today, I'm excited to welcome John J. Pitney Jr. He is an author and political scientist who has written many books such as The Art of Political Warfare, Epic Journey, the 2008 Elections and American Politics, and many more. Today we will discuss his book, After Reagan, Bush, Dukakis and the 1988 election. John, would you please begin by providing us with an overview of your book?
The book is about the 1988 election between then incumbent Vice President George H.W. Bush and Democratic nominee Michael Dukakis. And I wrote the book because it hadn't gotten quite as much scholarly attention as some other elections, but I think it was tremendously important because in many respects it represented the end of an era. Ronald Reagan had won the previous two elections, and it marked a close to the Reagan-Bush era because Bush himself lost in 1992. And it was also an election in which Bush put together the old Republican coalition in a way that future Republicans could not. For example, he was able to carry states such as Illinois and California, which subsequent Republican nominees were not able to do. And I thought there was some mythology that had grown up around the election, and I thought the book would be an opportunity to correct some misconceptions.
Thank you. Let's move to the questions. After the Democratic National Convention, Dukakis had a large lead over Bush. Why did it evaporate so quickly?
It was artificial. Dukakis had an excellent convention. He gave a really good acceptance speech. The logistics of the convention worked well for the Democrats, but the natural shape of the election actually favored George H.W. Bush. He had peace, he had prosperity, and he had a popular incumbent president in Ronald Reagan. The peace side a couple of years earlier might have looked different, but by 1988, it was very clear that the Cold War was coming to a close. Prosperity, in the fall of 1987, there was a very significant crash in the American stock market. And for a short while, there were some jitters about the effects on the overall economy. But it turned out to be a phenomenon that was confined to the financial markets and didn't really affect the overall economy. And in 1988, the economy was growing quite rapidly. Ronald Reagan took a hit in his popularity because of the Iran-Contra affair. But by 1988, frankly, people were forgetting about Iran-Contra, and it didn't really hurt Bush that much. So put those things together, he had a natural advantage. Dukakis had an artificial advantage coming out of the convention. And by the end of the summer, the race took on its natural shape with Bush having the lead.
Do you think George Bush made a mistake when he promised not to raise taxes as he would raise them in his term, or was that necessary for him to win the election?
Very good question. It was probably necessary for him to win the nomination. Even then, there was a strong anti-tax wing within the Republican Party. And had he not done so, he would have been vulnerable to attacks from the right wing. The problem is he made that promise without necessarily thinking through the implications, something he said on the campaign trail many times, not just at the convention. But when he became president, he faced a situation in which he had a very difficult choice. The law at the time mandated extreme across-the-board budget cuts in case the budget didn't meet deficit targets, and that's what happened. And he eventually decided that he had to agree to a tax increase. He might have been able to hold out a little longer. He might have been in a stronger political position if he had done so. But even there, it turns out that in 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Iraq, and that required a massive and, in the short run, very expensive military mobilization. So he would have had to yield eventually. But his biggest mistake was not thinking through the political and economic consequences of that promise.
As a candidate, was Michael Dukakis more similar to a more left-wing type of Democrat like Walter Mondale, who ran before him, or to a centrist type of Democrat like Bill Clinton, who would run after him?
Well, that's one of the misconceptions I wanted to clear up in the book. In hindsight, many people said, well, Dukakis was a Northeastern liberal. It was more complicated than that. Michael Dukakis actually had a reputation as a pro-business Democrat. He built his reputation as governor as somebody who would build the high technology sector in Massachusetts. Now, his claims on that were perhaps a bit exaggerated, but he definitely ran as someone who was friendly to business, certainly not the stereotype of a left-wing socialist Democrat. He differed from Bill Clinton in certain important respects. Bill Clinton supported the death penalty. Michael Dukakis did not. But in general, Dukakis was far from a hard leftist. But in the wake of his defeat, people were looking for excuses for the Democratic defeat in the election, and they retroactively cast him as some kind of left-winger, which he really was not.
As Bush won this election in a landslide, do you think the election could have gone the other way?
Unlikely. The fundamentals of the election favored Bush. Peace, prosperity, Ronald Reagan. The Democrats were subject to criticism for running for the way they ran their campaign. Actually, the campaign had simply the usual number of errors and omissions and mistakes.
Interesting.
So unless Bush had made some kind of massive error in the campaign, it would have been hard to see how he could have lost that election. It was a matter of the fundamentals, not so much the campaign strategies.
Thank you. And where would you recommend readers to get your book?
The easiest way to get my book is Amazon.com. If people want to assign it in class, they can get in touch with the University Press of Kansas.
Thank you for being with us today, John. I wish you ongoing success in your work.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.